So here you see the entire transmission from underneath. Now I've cleaned off the flange and I've cleaned out the bolt holes. I've installed the new bolts and made sure that they actually use as much as possible of the threads that are already inside the old holes. And in another video I show how I recoiled this one, this hole over here. You may notice that there are a couple of scratches over here. I don't know if you see that, but this is from old time use. There's also a number of scratches over here, and I have some marks around that bolt hole. And I'm using the LubeLocker gasket, and it shouldn't be required to use any gasket maker on that one, but since I have these marks in my flange on the transmission, then I'm going to use a thin layer of the blue Permatex to seal between the transmission and the top of the gasket. So I'm now going to put out a fine layer of ultra blue Permatex silicone, and I will cover this in the same fashion or about thickness as I did when I mounted the gasket to the pan. And this gasket sealer, I'm using it to compensate for the flaws in the flange. And as you can see also, this material is much more fluid than the ultra black. And the same counts for this one. You have about 15 minutes until it starts getting surface dry. The ultra blue is much easier to work with than the ultra black. So this is it. I've added about 1 millimeter or 0.5 millimeters silicone evenly on top of the gasket, and this will seal and compensate for any scratches that I have in my transmission flange. Those red lines are actually quite good indicators on how much thickness of Permatex that you apply, and as soon as they disappear, you know that you put about 0.5 millimeter. Well, so now I've just raised it straight upwards towards the flange, and I've introduced the bolts into their holes, and I go by a crisscross pattern. This is the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5 and the 6 here. I'm screwing it in by hand, and since the bolt holes are clean, it works very easy. I'm going to torque them to 15 Newton meter in the same crisscross pattern later on, and then the 7 comes down here. So now when all the bolts are in place, I'm going to torque them down. Well, first I just screw them down until it says stop, and then I'll torque them with a torque wrench. And the manual states 17 Newton meter, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to torque them to 15 today, and then I'm going to wait for 12 hours or 24 hours about for the somewhere in between there, until I go back down here and I torque them the last 2 Newton meters. So we're at manual specs. Alright, so now all the bolts have been torqued to 15 Newton meters, and tomorrow I'll come down here and torque them to 17. If I pull my finger along the edge, this is how much silicone that comes out. So I'm pretty sure that I'm safe on the inside as well. It was just a tiny layer of silicone I put on the top. So now I don't think I need to worry about any silicone falling off in the future or Permatex ending up in the transmission. The reason I wait for a couple of hours until I torque the last 2 Newton meters is because I want the Permatex to start curing, and that way it will be more rigid when I torque it the last time. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Cheers. This is the package that the LubeLocker gasket came in, and here's some summary of the features. It's a metal based material coated with rubber, full parameter elastomeric beading, installs dry, no silicone required. Yes, of course, if your transmission has no scratches in it. Will not split or extrude during installation. That's very good, in contrast to the rubbers gaskets that I used before. Superior torque retention. And finally, here you have the sequence for torquing down the gasket towards your transmission.